Okay, so welcome everybody, and um, I wanted to make sure everybody uh, knew everybody and where they're coming or phoning in from, um, so we can kind of like go around, um, and then we'll close it with our two new team members. How about that? All right. So anybody want to go first?
I'll go first.
Awesome.
Hi, everybody. I'm Monica Brown Reed. I'm up in Frederick, Maryland, and have been involved with the NAACP as their education co-chair since about 2019. And my husband, William Reed, told me about this Kerwin Commission and had been talking about it for over a year now. But anyway, long story short, we're here now. And we're very interested in being a part of Strong Schools Maryland, and really want to help out in any way we can. And more importantly, we really want to make sure that our district school is accountable to do what they say that they're going to do, because we do have some issues here in our county with regard to diversity and equity and inclusion. And thank you for allowing me to be a part of this group. And we're trying to organize a team. So we'll see how that goes.
Hi, I'm Joan Roach. I live in Worcester County. We formed a team of 10 right when the bill was starting. We were starting to lobby for the bill. We have a lot of, I'm also very active with the Democratic Women's Club, and there are a lot of retired educators in that group. So very interested in education. And we've been going to school board meetings and starting to build relationships with the county school system.
Hi, I'm Brenda Conley. I live in Carroll County. I am representing the Baltimore Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, where I chair the Educational Development Committee, along with Dolores Winston, who will introduce herself. Baltimore City and Baltimore County represent our service areas. Our main focus right now with support for the implementation of the blueprint is happening in Baltimore City. I appreciate all of the guidance and support provided by Strong Schools. You know, we are in the process of trying to add another team. We have enough on our committee to represent a team, but we are recruiting members of our sorority who are not on the Educational Development Committee to also serve as Strong Schools advocates.
Well, I guess I'm going to piggyback on my soror, Brenda Conley. I'm not on camera tonight. I just got in from the market and I'm haywire. But in the meantime, I'm just going to piggyback on some of the things that she shared. Along with our sorors, we're also involved in the Parent Leadership Academy with the Empowerment Academy. That's a partnership for us. And we've begun the training. And so we also want to build a team from that particular group as well. But I think they're well on the way. Even though we only had 2 training sessions, they participated in the advocacy activity in Annapolis with Strong Schools. And also when Baltimore City had their overview of the blueprint a few weeks ago, they also, one of the parents in the Leadership Academy attended both of those sessions. So we're pleased with the way things are moving.
I will come on now. Hello, everyone. I am Sabrina Jones-Smith. I too am a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. However, I am a leader of a team with my education sorority, which is the National Sorority of Phi Delta Kappa Incorporated. This sorority is for educators. Everyone within the sorority is an educator in some form or fashion, whether it's a teacher, an administrator, a professional school counselor, social worker, things of that nature. I am in the Baltimore City chapter. I actually work in Baltimore in an administrative education specialist capacity. So I serve in Baltimore City. However, our sorority, we have our chapter is Baltimore City, Baltimore County. We also have a chapter in Anne Arundel County, Prince George's County, and Wicomico County. So our team is made up of members from all of those areas. And because we're a small sorority, we did a collective team, and we are meeting with blueprint implementation coordinators from all of those school systems. We've been attending Board of Ed meetings. We recently participated in the Blueprint Celebration Rally, where our past Supreme President, she did speak, Charlotte M. Williams. And again, because we are all educators, we are very supportive of the Blueprint and all of the work that Strong Schools has been doing and will continue to do. Thank you.
I can go, and then I'll pass it off I'll pick on somebody. So hello folks. I believe everyone knows me, but I am Maya, and I live in Baltimore County, and I am the local organizer. And I guess fun fact, something that I am passionate about when it comes to education is students having access to mental health resources. And I'm so happy that you all are here. I will pass it on to Janice.
Hi all, I'm Janice Lepore. I also live in Baltimore County, and I have a team that sort of spans a couple of counties because they're made up of friends and fellow advocates that I know. I'm also a licensed psychologist. I specialize in psychoeducational assessments and school consultations. So professionally, I'm in the education space quite a bit. And I have 3 school-age children, 2 of whom have dyslexia and ADHD concerns that we're trying to meet in the education system. And that is the spring of my passion, really making sure we have equitable access for students with all different types of learning needs, skills, and strengths. And Joan, I'll pass it to Joan if Joan hasn't already gone.
Joan did go, right?
I already went.
I'm not good at keeping track.
All good, all good. I got you.
Thank you.
Carlise,
Hi, good afternoon. I'm sorry, I can't turn my camera on just yet, but I will in a few minutes. I am a literacy coach, an early literacy coach in Baltimore City Public Schools. I've been an educator for about 13 years now. My desire is to make sure that our kids learn how to read. Not only that, I want it to be a statewide thing. Currently, the science of reading is being implemented in several states, and we're seeing gains. Those states are seeing gains in the reading scores. And currently Maryland has not adopted that. So my interest is in creating a bill or drafting a bill to get that done in the state of Maryland. I don't just want to see kids reading in a certain school district. I want to see it statewide. So that is my desire.
thank you. And Miss White, are you available to talk?
Yes, I am. Hi, everyone. I'll put my camera on too later. My name is LaVon White. I'm a recent retiree, but a resident of Baltimore City for over 60 plus years. And I'm very much interested in making sure that quality education, including arts, music, libraries, and all the other resources that we generally have been neglected of, are available in Baltimore City. I believe that primarily the high cost of crime in our community is a result of the de-investment and the under investment in education and just the general community of Baltimore City. So I'm interested in, I was involved also with the current commission there with the seeing the legislators and popping in their office to make sure that they pass the bill and all of that stuff. So I've been interested in a long time, but I'm more interested now since I'm retired, and I'm excited to be on board.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. White. It's just team members now. Shamoya.
Good evening, everyone. I am Shamoya Gardiner. You all likely know this, but I'm the executive director of Strong Schools Maryland. I'm in this work for a whole heck of a lot of reasons. But I will say that I am a former 6th through 10th grade educator, science teacher, and I take very personally all attempts to deny children what it is that they deserve. And so I'm very, very happy to be in this work with this great team and with this beautiful network. And I will pass it to Dave.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dave Heilker. I am the comms specialist at Strong Schools Maryland, and I am sitting in the dark and feeling a little bit under the weather, so I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Riya.
Hello, everyone. My name is Riya. I am new. I am a policy research fellow at Strong Schools Maryland. And I mean, I love education. It allowed me to be here today. So I'm very appreciative of it. Currently finishing up my master's in public health, master's of science in public health, in child health at Hopkins, and just excited to be with all of you. And I'll pass it to Maddie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maddie Long. I started with Riya a couple weeks ago. I am a policy analyst fellow. I recently graduated from the University of Maryland with my bachelor's in public policy. I am also passionate for education for a whole lot of reasons. I have kind of a weird background. I was homeschooled for most of my educational career. My mom currently homeschools 4 little kids. So I bring an interesting perspective, but like before I had this job, I would say my passion lied with early education, but Shamoya said something to me during my interview about how community schools can change the world. When I wasn't really sure what community schools even were, she was like, you got to look it up. I think you will think they can change the world. And I fully understand that and think that now. So that is what I'm in this for. So yeah, I look forward to getting to know everyone. And yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. This month, we'd like to shout out a team leader who couldn't make the call tonight, but definitely wanted to highlight their efforts. Emily Brown is a Baltimore County team leader, and through her advocacy, we were able to discover that the AIB failed to upload all of the county's 2022 trauma and behavioral health reports. And because of her correction, they have now uploaded all of those reports to their website. So we will be taking a second look over those and stay tuned for any updates regarding that. So here's our agenda for today. In addition to this, I will follow up with an email that will have the state and local updates on a 1-pager for you all to also share with your teams. And there will also be the links that Dave will be dropping throughout the chat, will also be included in a link tree in that follow-up email. There you'll also find access to the team leader toolkit that has state, local, and helpful administrative documents to support you and your team. And starting with our organizing priorities. So this will be kind of new to some folks on the call. But we've done a lot thus far, but there's still so much to do. Right now, we are advocating for maintenance of full blueprint funding at the state level, contributing to local implementation plan development and building relationship with local officials and local and state officials. And we'll have a post-session network retreat to reflect on everything once we get through the craziness of session. So something to look forward to. And speaking of things that we have accomplished, Blueprint Day was a huge success. So thank you to everyone who came out. If you have any photos, please email them to me. We would like to use these photos to spotlight all the amazing work that went into making that day incredible. And we also have a survey. If you could fill out that survey and let us know how we did, how we can improve. We would love to do that and continue to be strong together. All right. And leading up to this, I did send out messages about asking for 3 days that your team is available to go to Annapolis. So if you could plug that in the chat, that would be great so that we can capture that and follow up with you on support for that. Last week, I sent out an email that had information about highlighting bills to testify for and bills with upcoming hearing dates. So we'll spend a good amount of time going over the bill tracker that I sent out. That was included in that email, just to ensure that it's clear and to go over the support we've put in place to assist you with state level advocacy. But as we do that, please put the dates that your team can go to Annapolis in the chat. All right, so let's switch over. Okay, I'm not sure if this is big enough here. Is that a readable size? Or
Just
is it
control plus a few
Okay.
times. Yeah.
Gotcha. I can't tell because my screen is kind of big.
That's good.
Good. All right, cool. Thank you so much. So starting with this guide, and don't worry about, oh, to answer your question, Sabrina, there aren't a list of dates that would be best. But if you and your team can talk about which days work best for you all, then we can kind of go from there. I want to make sure that everyone, as many people as possible, are available from your team to head out to Annapolis. And as an example, I was just in Annapolis this morning with Jill, a team leader from Baltimore City. You probably know Sabrina. And with some students, and we popped into, they had like one scheduled meeting, but popped into other delegates' offices from District 46, where the school is, and we're still able to meet with another delegate, Delegate Clippinger, as a result. So we can definitely try to make appointments, but there's also the possibility that you'll be able to still meet with your representatives, but it's a matter of having the folks there to do so. Yeah, if there are any other questions, feel free to continue to put them in the chat. But I wanted to guide us back over to the bill tracker. So starting with the guide tab here, we have instructions on how to use the guide, just to make it as easy as possible to go through. But each committee in the House and Senate, as well as county delegations, have their own rules when it comes to submitting testimony. So that has been linked on this guide tab as well. And in the tracker itself, you'll find that each bill has been organized so that the bill number here is the originating chamber. If it's cross-filed, it will also be linked here. So when it's introduced both in the House and the Senate at the same time, it'll be listed here. And then if the fiscal and policy note has been created, it will also be linked here. It's organized by county, just to make it a bit easier, but I do want to also draw your attention to the fact that there are statewide bills that are included. You just have to scroll down a bit since it's in alphabetical order. And so we have also noted the sponsor of the bill, which is important, and pulled the brief synopsis of it from the Maryland General Assembly website, followed by the hearing date and the committee it's in. And if there are any notes, we'll include them there. And so once you have kind of designated the bill that you will be testifying for, or submitting testimony for, you'll want to look at the committee that it's a part of in the tracker, and then find the committee guidelines just to ensure that you are following that to sign up and submit your testimony. And in addition to that, we also have our legislative toolkit here. So this is in your team leader toolkit. In the state folder, you will find this legislative session toolkit. So I won't spend as much time on this. It's pretty self-explanatory once you read through everything. But this goes through not only scheduling meetings, so reaching out initially, an agenda for the meeting, and a script. The script is very much so what we did for Blueprint Day and is effective. You can check off the response that you're getting and have that for your notes. We have a survey to fill out after the fact that is also linked in the instructions at the top, the post-meeting form linked here. And then we also have a follow-up email, definitely important to send to remind legislators of any commitment they made during your conversation with them and ways to stay in contact and stay involved, whether it's through partnering for different initiatives in your community, meeting with your team, whatever the next step is. And I can kind of coordinate with you throughout the process. And that's why it's important. We have, I'm readily available to kind of help you through this. We have legislative drop-in sessions Mondays at 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. But my calendar is open and available through the links that I'll share out. After the meeting, I have a Calendly link, and my schedule is readily available for you to schedule a meeting with me. But this goes through, you have to create a MyNGA account in order to sign up for testimony. So that is all linked there for you with pictures, because I know it can be kind of hard to navigate the site at times. And then there are different templates if you will be giving verbal testimony or written. So that's all laid out there for you. So any questions that may have come up during that? Okay.
Maya,
Yes.
I should have raised my hand. I apologize.
Okay.
If we wanted to, within our own community, and I'm using sorority as an example of community, have a workshop to introduce this process to prospective team members, is that something that you and or Shamoya might be able to help us with?
Absolutely. So I believe you were on the call for the legislative session 101.
Mm-hmm.
So something like that we could do for your team. And then if there was a particular bill that you wanted to have your team work on drafting testimony for, we can work that into the workshop. So that goes for everyone. We want to make sure that we're educating folks and then also like taking action. So yeah, that goes for everyone.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for the question. Okay. Great. So we have a great opportunity to connect with Baltimore City Community School coordinators. Their office has reached out to us and wants us to talk at their Baltimore City Community School Symposium. And so we will be a part of a panel, we'll be doing a workshop, and we'll also be tabling. And so that is where we really need your help to table and talk to community school coordinators about the work that you're already doing and how we can better partner with them to achieve our goals of a world-class education together. So we are looking for volunteers who may be available on yes, definitely. I agree with Shamoya in the chat. In general, it's important to kind of understand how to navigate the community schools. And so this could be really insightful and helpful information as a whole. But yeah, we're looking for 4 team leaders to help us out with the event. It is in Timonium at the Loyola Graduate Center. There's plenty of parking there. I'm a Loyola grad, I know. There's plenty of parking there. It's on March 15th from 10 to 2:45. That is a a good chunk of time. So I'm willing, if there are two folks who want to come from 10 to 12, and then two folks who want to go from 12 to 2:45, to make it kind of manageable for folks, don't have to give up too much time. That would be awesome too. If you want to stay all day, would love to have you. But we do need help when it comes to tabling, because we will be doing a lot at that event, and it is also a great way to get connected. So if you are interested, feel free to take yourself off mute, raise your hand, the emoji hand, or in the chat, let me know. Awesome, thank you, Sabrina.
Maya, just as a FYI, one of our team members is a community school facilitator in Baltimore County. If she could come with me, would that be okay?
Absolutely, I think that would be great. I think they may already talk to each other. Right?
Okay, all right, I'll see what her availability is as well, even if it's just to be there to give me some pointers and or to network and work the crowd and talk with people.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, I'll see if she's available also.
Awesome. Thank you, Sabrina. And I saw Dr. Conley is interested. Thank you so much. So we will take note of that, and I will follow up with you both so we can coordinate what times you're available throughout the course of the event or the whole event and whatever it may be. And we'll also prep you with tabling information so you don't have to come up with anything on the spot. All right. Awesome. And as I'm going, if folks are like, hey, you know what, that actually sounds like a great idea, put it in the chat. All right. Do you all have any county updates? What's happening in your neck of the woods?
Dolores Winston, this is Brenda again. Dolores Winston and I, along with several of our team members, attended 2 town hall sessions sponsored by Baltimore City Schools. I can't remember if you and Shamoya were in the audience on those calls. We were a little bit disappointed in the attendance. You know, the sessions, you know, were pretty informative, but I don't think that there were more than 40 participants on either call. And, you know, we came back with some questions about, you know, how the town hall meetings were publicized. And we got feedback from different groups, you know, or different people who attended, saying how they found out about it, and also through an inquiry with others that we know who are either Baltimore City parents or active in the community, who said they knew nothing at all about it. So, you know, one of the things that that we hope to provide feedback on, you know, is communication and how to strengthen that that communication structure, so more people know not just about the blueprint, but about what Baltimore City or any other local jurisdiction is doing with its work on the blueprint.
I have a question or a concern, or both actually. So we're planning to submit our first round of comments back to our local school district. And I've been engaging with the chief of staff who's responsible for the blueprint. And we're very concerned about how our feedback is going to be received. Not only just our feedback, but any other community organizational feedback. And we're concerned in regard to the accountability and not understanding exactly what they have to do to respond to us. Do they have to accept it, or do they just say, you know, thank you for your comments and have a great day type of thing? And another issue that was kind of alarming to us, I guess, because this is all new territory, is that we shared with them that we had the information, the report, and we shared that with them and their comments. And if you'd allow me just to read it right quickly. I had asked, would they be sharing that report with the public on their site where they have the plan posted? And they said that they have no plans to respond to their reporting. And they also noted that there was an extensive conversation between Strong Schools and the Public School Superintendents Association of Maryland, who summarily object to their approach, meaning Strong School Maryland's approach. And she goes on to say that the group merely reviewed publicly available reports and assigned their own meaning without any metrics or any approach or standard methodology. So maybe you can help us on that, understanding what, you know, approach is actually used by Strong Schools Maryland as far as metrics. And so we are better aware.
Absolutely. And I think that this would be a great time for Riya to share some of the analysis. I will be right back.
Okay, it's my turn. Okay. Yeah, so everyone is aware of the progress reports, and honestly, like being honest, I think everyone knows it's not where we want to be in terms of reporting. I just want to make it clear. Let me pull up my notes so I don't get scatterbrained like I sometimes do. That what we rated on, so these progress reports that we made are simply an assessment of the quality of reporting done by each county, not where each county stands in terms of blueprint implementation itself. So what that means is, in the last year, each county had a certain amount of reports that they needed to submit. And we took a sample of that. We took 3 reports, the diverse hiring practices report and the 2021 and 2022 behavioral health and trauma report. So 3 reports. And what we looked at is, in the law, it states what these reports should include, the content that it should include. And when I say those were our standards, they were our standards. There was nothing that we added, except I will add on to our Strong School Maryland like reporting requirements after. But for each of the reports, when you look at that sheet of paper, it'll have, like, for the diverse hiring practices, it'll have like 3 bullet points listed with either an emoji next to it. Those are abbreviated versions of what is in the law. I abbreviated it for space, but there is the extensive rubric on, like, with the law, basically that it was our rubric in that drive when you click on that link in the progress reports or scan the QR code. We looked at the law, and if they did not satisfactorily report what was needed to be reported, then we gave it a needs improvement. That's why we're seeing so many needs improvement. Not that's why, but we are seeing a lot of needs improvement because the counties did not adequately report on what they needed to report. And I know this can be sounding negative. It's disheartening in a little bit, but we need to push for better reporting, because this is going to be happening for 10 plus years. This is the start. If we're going to get bad reporting, we're not going to be learning anything as the public. Like, yes, I work for Strong Schools Maryland, but I could have been just a community member interested in the blueprint, and I've been like, what is my county doing? And I go to these reports, they're not formatting well, they have spelling mistakes, they're plagiarizing, that's the small, like, that's like not even like the biggest issue, they don't even address what's needed in the law. And like I am like I they are dense, and I like really implore you to just look at them. Look at your counties, look at Prince George's, if you are from Prince George's or not Prince George's, because Prince George's is what we want to be seeing. We want to be seeing better, actually. We always want to see data. We want to see these counties being forward thinking. We want them to get community input throughout the reporting process. And I think everyone can agree on that. Like, we deserve the best. And these reports are all we got sometimes, because a lot of counties do not get a lot of like community input and tell people what's going on while it's happening. So this is the baseline. We have to push for better reporting. And I'd love to talk to anyone who has concerns about how to communicate this to their local leaders, because I know it's tough. It's tough to say when the blueprint is already like slightly struggling along, and there's a lot of pushback from a lot of counties. It's important to emphasize how important this is. It's not something to get pushed aside, like saying like, oh, we have so much going on. Yeah, we have so much going on, so let's figure out how to do this together. Like, if you need more support, we'll get you that support. We'll support the bill that gets funding for blueprint implementation coordinators. We'll do anything that is needed. I just want to emphasize, like, a lot of the counties did not as well as we would hope. A lot of that leads to the MSDE and AIB and their guidance and their support to these LEAs, which also needs to be called out. And we will be working with both LEAs and MSDE and AIB. Like, it is a multi-level system. Like, no one is to blame. And that's no one specifically is to blame. The system in place is to blame. And we need to call out and push for better reporting. And that is my spiel. And I'd love to talk to any of you. And please reach out. I will put my email in the chat.
I want to further validate what Riya has expressed. We're extremely proud of the analysis that was done and very proud of these progress reports. Two things I want to highlight. One, last year when we issued the 2022 progress reports, which just looked to see if reports had been submitted, we got the same feedback from local school systems. They did not want anyone external assessing whether they had done their jobs. They told us straight up, and I am including PZAM, the Superintendent's Association, that if the public wanted that information, we should just go through the Department of Legislative Services library, which is intensely confusing to navigate. And so we expect pushback. Having pushback from local school systems is not a bad thing. It's not a thing to be afraid of. We're trying to do something different here, and that is ensure accountability at the local level. We didn't have this with the Thornton Commission. We didn't have this with previous iterations of education reform in Maryland. So that is vital. And two, as Riya noted, the quality of reporting that we're seeing in these results is a direct consequence of the fact that they knew folks weren't looking. Reports that were submitted in 2021 and 2022 were when the AIB wasn't fully constituted, when they weren't fully funded. And school systems did not expect that we would look at the reports they submitted. But we do know that those quality of reports will directly translate to the quality of blueprint implementation plan they put out in 2 weeks. And so it is vital that we let them know now that we are looking. Back to you, Maya.
Do you understand what they're saying? I'll pass it to Joan. Joan has her hand raised.
I looked at a report, and then I looked at the reports that you based that on. And I talked with Maya earlier in the week with some other members of our teams. And I guess it is not clear to me what you all found specifically wrong with the report. So it's very hard for us to deal with our system if we're not seeing exactly what you're seeing. I also feel like at the beginning of the process, you're saying it's good to push them, but if you push too hard and they discount you, you're going to lose a lot of credibility. And as I said, as a team member, we talk to our administrators. We need to be able to explain what you were looking at. And as I said, when I read the reports, I thought there was a lot of things in there that they were asking for. And they were writing this in an expectation of MSDE. So, I mean, clearly, maybe if you think they should be different kind of reporting, you definitely need to work with them. But as I said, I still can't look at them, I still can't match what I saw in the report and the other. And I looked at Prince George's County, and maybe it was formatted differently, but we had a lot of that stuff in the Worcester County report. So I'm just not sure what you felt was missing, basically. And, and as you said, you talk about plagiarism using from county. My guess is they get guidelines of how to write that. So they are going to look similar across the counties, I would think.
Joan, I think you elevate some great points. And one thing I want to be clear about is when we were developing this internally, one of the things that we consider extremely valid is the feedback we get from team leaders. So I think Riya and Maya and I would be happy to have a call with you and actually just go through the Worcester report and have that conversation at the local level, because if you're highlighting things in the report and you think that it deserves a higher rating, we are absolutely happy to have that conversation and shift things.
The other thing we were talking about is that I think 3 categories might not be enough, because you go from needs improvement to you're doing everything. It doesn't really tell you what needs improvement or what you didn't see in the report that you wanted. And I guess I would, I assume the AIB are looking at these reports. Are they not really looking at that yet? And do they have feedback?
So board members have not seen any of the reports that have been submitted for the blueprint over the last 2 years. We've heard that directly from them, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing this, because we know that if folks understand that no one's really looking at this point, then the work won't be taken quite as seriously. And so I do want to have that follow-up conversation. I think the shortest and easiest way to explain it is the law required certain reporting on specific subjects. We looked at the reports, and the reports didn't cover the subjects they were supposed to. And so we might have a lot of reports. I think Montgomery County is a beautiful example of this. Their teacher and diversity report is several hundred pages long. None of it addresses the requirements of the reporting law in the blueprint. Instead, it is them pasting another teacher diversity report that they use for their own purposes at the local level.
What would you say the requirement in the law was? Because to me, it's just that the requirement in the law is so incredibly broad. I don't know how you check for it.
Yeah, Riya, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say, there's an issue, first of all, language in a law that is supposed to uphold great standards for a Maryland's education system should not be vague. It should have strong language. So that's a point that we need to make going forward. Vague language allows for leniency and for incomplete work and for not as good as we expect and deserve. So okay, when we have these standards that are in the law that say I'm just pulling up the language. Sorry.
I am actually pulling it up for you right now, Riya. So if we look at page number 228 at this link, and we go to line 17, here we're actually looking at the text of the blueprint law, and I think I can share my screen probably, so if you can't navigate on your own, you can still see what we're talking about. Just one moment. All right. And so here, beginning on line 17, this is the reporting requirement for the teacher diversity and hiring report as an example. And so it says that by a certain date, every local school system has to, one, evaluate its hiring practices to determine if those practices are contributing to a lack of diversity in the state's overall teaching staff. So there's one requirement. Two, make changes as appropriate. And three, report on its findings and those proposed changes to the governor. So this report is essentially asking local school systems to reflect on their own practices. And what we saw in most of the reports were recommendations we agreed with, but recommendations for the state to take action, and very little analysis of what the actual practices are at the local level, and then the determination as to whether those specific practices contribute to a lack of diversity. And so the fact that very many of our school systems failed to complete the actual terms of this report means that they haven't done the analysis necessary to think critically about how they're going to implement provisions of Pillar 2. And that is, in effect, why they got needs improvement. Does that help at all, Joan?
I mean, it does, but I'm just not sure I agree. But that's neither here nor there. Because I said I read the report. I don't know exactly. I mean, I can sort of see some of it, but a lot of it to me is in there. It depends what you mean by hiring practices or why they're having problems. Lots of that was explained in those reports.
And I think that you are exactly right, Joan, in that like there's more discussion to be had. And I want to, one, do that with you specifically, but two, also be clear that as the actual plans come out on March 15th, we will be engaging you all in the analysis of your own local plans too. And we will make sure that in the future, your input is put in on the front end rather than as a response.
Yeah, my concern with our county, and I don't know what's happening elsewhere, is that they're going to look for community engagement, I don't know, like next week, and the plan is due the 15th. So you're really not, that's not appropriate time. And I worry with whoever else said about how they publicize it to get people to come. I think a lot of people don't understand what the blueprint is, let alone know that they would want to go to a town hall to find out what their plan is. So I think that's going to be a problem, but we'll see.
Thank you. Thank you for that the deep dive there. I think that kind of gets to, I know a number of folks I've talked to have had similar questions. Does anybody else have any questions before?
I had another thought based on a couple of things that Riya, is it Riya? That Riya said, and I think about the whole idea of communication and what this blueprint is designed to do. I just took a cursory look at some, just picked a category, the tutoring reports, and went from one school district to the other. And I don't know who's expected to understand what has been submitted in some of these reports. Many of them, well, in the tutoring reports, it's a letter from the school district to the governor, and then spreadsheets attached to that. Some school districts have probably 15 or 20 pages of spreadsheets. If it's a report that's designed to have or to create an understanding of what has been done in the school district or what needs to be done, then that's what the report should speak to. What it looks like, based on just this category that I looked at, is that it was a checklist activity. They said, give them data on the tutoring report. That's what they asked for, and that's what they submitted. But it doesn't create a shared understanding of what the law requires, what we're doing now, and what we hope to be doing with a change in the law. And if we really want the community to understand where we are, then I think those are some of the practices that need to be changed. And also, Joan, maybe where the conversation starts. You know, it's like when you write your dissertation, your advisor says, you know, write it so your grandmother might understand what it is you're doing. So consider me the grandmother. Write it so that I can understand what it is you are doing and what it is you say you're doing. Because if it's just what I might call technical reporting, and you say we spent $165,000 on this program, you know, well, what did it yield you? You know, did it help to satisfy the requirement? Was $165,000 enough? Or to implement that program with fidelity, what else do you need to do it? I think that's where the problem solving, you know, takes place, not with these thousands of pages of documents that don't say anything to anybody except the person who created it. So that's where I want to start the conversation. You know, what does it mean? What does it mean, you know, to me in terms of advocacy? What should I be advocating for? If I gotta plow through all of these spreadsheets, I can't, as an average citizen, I can't help you make the case for what it is you need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's kind of the essence of what we're getting at with this. It's not like we're trying to come down super harsh on the counties saying like, oh, you're not working. No, like we just want there to be transparency and some kind of way that Joe Schmo, anybody can look at this report and say, okay, my county is doing well in this area. We're going to improve in this area by taking this action. And that was not illustrated in majority of the reports. A lot of what we saw was, for example, for diverse hiring practices, we saw, I read in a couple of reports, well, we're geographically challenged in XYZ way, and we tried to go to some fairs, but there was not even how many people did you talk to at a fair? How many interviews were result of those efforts? Nothing along those lines. And from a report, you would expect that we would be able to assess whether or not what it is that you're doing and the challenges that you're facing, how we can start to put those together to create some kind of solution. So like these are kind of preemptive to the local implementation plan. So you would hope they would build. And having that vision, it kind of points to the Strong Schools Maryland standards of like really thinking strategically about like how these reports then filter into looking at year over year how we're going to make the blueprint actually yield the results that we want. So I hope that this this discussion has built up some clarity, some kind of building blocks for continuing the conversation. And for, like Shamoya mentioned, we'll be doing another round of reporting for the local implementation plans. And we want teams to be more involved in that process. And so for folks on the call and folks who end up watching the recording, in what way can your team be involved in the creation of the progress reports moving forward is what we really want to know. We would like to start this conversation here. How do you imagine, or what tools does your team have that we can start to collaborate on analyzing these reports and taking into account your knowledge of all of the work that is happening in your local school district?
I just want to piggyback a little bit on what Dr. Conley was saying and sort of tie it into, I think, maybe where the conversations can start with the county. Dr. Conley is absolutely right. These reports are dense, impossible to read. I'm a psychologist. I read dense, impossible to read stuff all the time, and this stuff is dense and impossible to read. But in defense of the counties, which pains me a little bit, it's all bad. The AIB has not produced a readable, accessible, understandable report. They haven't produced reasonable, clear, articulate outline expectations in a timely manner. Like, I know that there wasn't much stakeholder participation in the Baltimore County report, in no small part because I think the expectations came out like December 1st and they had to have the thing out December 14th. They could barely get their own team together, never mind anybody in the public, in December on 2 weeks' notice with expectations they didn't know how to meet. I think the county reports reflect the poor expectations and the poor product that's being put out at the state level. And I don't think MSDE does any better. Like, I haven't seen anybody yet who writes what I would consider to be a readable report. And so, like, if I'm going to go in and talk with my county, what I might say is, where do you think you communicated this information? Strong Schools doesn't think you did. Where do you think you did? And did you have what you really needed to make sure that this was translatable, that this was clear? Did you even know what AIB was trying to look for? Which I don't think they did. If they did, then I want to hear what they knew, because I can't figure out what AIB was trying for. So I think the push is not just that the counties do better with your reporting, but to the AIB and the state, do better with your expectations. Nobody knows what you want, so they can't possibly do it. You're hamstringing us at the start.
And I think, Janice, the greatest challenge, and if through Strong Schools or any other advocates, if we're able to crack the bureaucracy that's involved with moving this policy to good, solid implementation, we could probably win a Nobel Prize. So what we see happening here with the blueprint is not unusual, but I think we're the people in the middle who can help push both ways to say, if this is going to work, we have to change our thinking and we have to change our behavior for how this work gets done. So, the AIB is no different. Everybody now is scrambling, trying to cover themselves to make it look like everything is okay. If everything were okay, we wouldn't need the blueprint. We need the blueprint. The blueprint is one of those things that will throw the cover back and say, no, this is not how a world-class school system operates. So we're not interested, and Dolores and I talked about this because, we've got decades of experience in public education. So we've seen a lot of things, like many of you have. And even when we sat in on the town hall meetings, there was a sense that those reporting had to be reporting on all the things that they are doing right and all the things that are working well right now. But again, it depends on who's measuring it. If I sit off in my silo, whatever it is, and simply report to myself on what I'm doing, I'm going to report. Why would I report that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing or doing it well? But now you have the opportunity to shine a light on things that need to be repaired. And if the blueprint does nothing else, let's shine that light and let's put the money where it needs to be. We don't want to keep, my father used to say, there's no sense in pouring water in a bucket with a hole in it. We've got buckets with holes in them. So just pouring blueprint money into it, is not going to make a difference. We have to change the way we think about this. And, that's the conversation I want somebody to be willing to have. Let's peel this onion back and look to see what is not working for the children across the state.
I think it might be helpful because, as I said, I'm not sure, I think the counties took these reports as very negative, mostly because you had 3 categories, and if you got all in the, most of them got the needs improvement. I just think there needs to be more of a gradation. So like I'm here and I'm moving up here, and not from here, and I've done everything. The other thing that might be helpful is Strong Schools came up with some questions that they asked the counties, like, or specifics, like, we would have liked to have seen X in, so say the hiring practices, and you look at it and, you know, the reasons why it's difficult, or what your relationship is, or there are a few things in Worcester County that they might do. But the bigger issue, I think, with hiring diversity is, what do your interview questions look like? You know, and they're not going to put that in a report. Somebody's going to, but if you don't, I think if you can provide those type of questions for team leaders to ask, it would be helpful. And I like under, you know, in the law, as I said, it's very broad, but in that broadness, you're looking for specific things that you could probably enumerate. Like, I would like to see that you reviewed your interviewing techniques. I would like to see that you did outreach in areas that you haven't done before, or things like that, that just, you know, we're specific enough for everybody to understand and to push the thing, and to push the counties. Like, your reports are hard to read. You need a summary at the beginning. You know, you need to make it digestible, but without specifics, it's going to be hard to get that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would, this is Dolores Winston speaking at this time. I welcome the fact that Strong Schools is monitoring what is happening with the plans. I welcome it. I also think we need to monitor and to keep our eyes on who the blueprint implementation coordinators are, because in some instances, I don't know whether or not they're dedicated. That each county has a dedicated person to it. I'm not always sure in terms of some of the information that we are aware of, that each person who is implementing it should be the person assigned who implements it. Now, I mean, we don't have any control over that, but certainly, and I would agree that there needs to be a template, but also need to know that we need not have a lot of yes, but people. You know, there are a lot of yes, but people out there as it relates to the blueprint. And that's not what we want, because yes, but people will not make any changes in terms of what needs to happen. And we definitely need a paradigm shift as it comes to the blueprint.
Well, I would ask everybody support the bill for the state to give funds to the blueprint coordinator, because in the rural counties, people are often already overwhelmed. Our blueprint coordinator is really believes in the blueprint, wants to do the right thing, is working really hard, but she is also the K-8 instructional supervisor for the school system. So you're asking her to do 2 or 3 full-time jobs. And as I said, they're giving it, you know, a good shot. They've been more than willing to talk to us, but when the plan comes out, people aren't going to see that ahead of time. And I feel like the way you looked at the state's plan, the plans are going to be long with a lot of information in them and hard to figure out. Bottom line, it's not good. And I don't know if they're going to have programmatic things, because that was the big discussion before with the AIB, is you're asking for targets of, I'm going to get this many more people at reading level, but you're not asking them to tell you how you plan to get it there. And I'm not sure that's going to be in the plans.
I think too, Joan, and I know we could talk about this for hours, that the problem in the small school district is we got the same problem in larger school districts, that in many cases, the blueprint coordinator is too deeply buried in the organizational structure to have the kind of impact that that person should have. You know, if I
Right.
were the superintendent of a large school district, that person would be joined at the hip with me, because that blueprint coordinator is not only reporting on how the money is being spent, that blueprint coordinator should be reporting on whether or not the school district is organized in a way that it allows it to respond to the blueprint. I think one of the reasons we're getting a lot of pushback is because many of those responsible for implementing parts of the blueprint are looking at it as an unfunded mandate. They're saying, we don't have money to do this. And my question is, then why? You know, so that's the kind of information that should be coming out in the report. Take a look at what's in the blueprint. Look at how we're structured to deliver this what's required in the law, and see where the gaps are. But if we're only looking at the blueprint as something that's being laid on top of everything that's already happening, then no, it's not going to happen. You know, when I have a chance to talk with many of those who are a part of implementation at the school level, and they're pushing back hard on it because they don't think they can do it. And that's because the kind of conversation that needs to be had at the top is not being had. It's being pushed down and say, do this because the law says we must. But we got to figure out how. You know, and if we can't do everything, but how do we reorganize or restructure ourselves so that we meet the requirements of the law? And if we can't, then we've got to explain why we can't do it. You know, and I mean, what we heard in Annapolis a couple of weeks ago, even from legislators, is that their folks at the school district level are telling them that they cannot implement aspects of the blueprint.
Well, Worcester County has one they don't want to. We're really conservative compared to a lot of the rest of the state, and they don't want to fund a lot of it. They do consider an unfunded mandate, our county commissioners particularly, and they spend a lot of time whining about the fact that we get so little money from the state because we have such a high property tax. Trying to explain that, well, that's sort of the point of state funding, but is hard. And so I can see with this budget season, coming up and trying to fund things, how they're going to do it. Because a lot of it comes from negotiations. A lot of the funding, they're saying they still don't really know what they're getting from the state. And they're like, well, why should we have to do this part? Because we're not really getting money for it. Yeah. On the other hand, they are getting money to educate the kids really well. And Worcester County has a pretty decent school system. So that's the other thing, is they're like, well, we're already doing well. And it's hard to get them to look at the things that might not be working.
My question would be, well, compared to what?
Right. Well, we have, no,
I'm not expecting.
We have a poverty area and a wealthier area, and the poverty area, of course, is not doing as well as the other area.
Well, let me tell you, somebody's needs are not being met. I don't care what school district it is.
Right. Yes. And now we have a new school board member who thinks we should have no services other than just reading and writing. So challenges.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the purpose of the blueprint too, though, to help those children who have the most needs. So they need to look at things, doing things differently, and not just Worcester County, some other counties too.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. I am so energized by this conversation. So I appreciate us just diving in like this. I want to leave some time though for us to be able to kind of wrap up and do our call survey. But before we do, I do want to plug, and this will be included in your state and local update one pager that you'll get in the follow-up email. But Shamoya is a part of the AIB's outcome measures work group that just had their first meeting yesterday.
Good.
And for folks who don't know, this outcome measures work group is responsible for creating more metrics to add to the AIB's initial comprehensive plan. So that extra, like that, not even extra, necessary guidance that we were talking about that counties need is coming. And there is a great group of folks who are a part of that work group who are, I'm personally really excited for them to be a part of Blueprint implementation. And I think it's a move in the right direction. So with that, Dave, if you would be so kind as to drop the call survey into the chat. I think, am I still sharing my screen? I don't think I am. Well, it's just a thank you. Just thank you all for coming out, and please do fill out the survey before you leave. And if you are interested in getting prepared for state level advocacy, please stay back and we can set up a time to meet and talk about what that can look like.
Oh, Maya, I may be able to help on the 15th. I just have to look at my schedule and give you a time frame.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. That was Miss Dolores. Sorry, my chat was in the way. Thank you. So once you fill out the survey, give me a thumbs up emoji or let me know. And all right, thank you, Joan. And you're free to leave and enjoy.
Good
the rest
night.
of your
Thanks.
evening.
Maya, where's the link to the survey? Did Dave post it?
Yes, it is in the chat.
Oh, here, I see. Oh, no, that's not it.
There's two links in the last thing that I posted.
Okay, and it's not the link tree, is it?
It's the second link under the link tree.
Okay, wait.
Oh, got you. Thank you, Dave.
Okay, thank you, Dave. I see it now.
Have a good night, y'all.